Hey everybody out there, my name is Dragnix, and I set my critical eye today on Mystery Chronicles One-Way Heroics. It's a roguelike action game that has you fighting monsters, fate, and the occasional moral decision of slaughtering helpless animals. So basically a Tuesday in the fantasy world. The game comes out on September 12th for the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation Vita for $14.99, with cross-buy enabled. In addition, it gets a PC Steam release for $9.99. Yes, that's $5 off the PlayStation price. But here's the question. Can the game's addictive gameplay mechanics and under-the-radar story elements drive the game to a must-buy in the roguelike genre? Or will it be caught driving down the wrong way of the fun highway, unable to keep you entertained, and instead, keeping you frustrated? That's what I'm here to find out, but before I begin, this key was obtained from the publisher, Spike Chunsoft, for the purposes of review. That won't change my opinion of the game in the end, but you should know that because of FTC guidelines, as well as the whole morals thing, you know? Let's start off with the story, which doesn't take the center stage like a lot of Spike Chunsoft's past work. However, it still has the signs of one of the best writing groups in the modern gaming universe being involved here. Your basic plot is this. There's an evil fallen angel named Alma. No, not the chick from Fear. Or maybe it is. Technically, it's possible within this game's world. Regardless, she has to be killed in order to fight off the Calamity of Light, the Shine Raid. But Dragnix, what's the Shine Raid exactly? Well, you know the title of this game? The one-way portion of it? Well, take it literally. See, there's a wall of light that moves from the west to the east in this game. If you end up getting caught in it, well, you sorta die. Small issue that the hero has to deal with to save the world. And that's it. That's your mission, and really, not much more detail other than that. The game keeps the main objective and the story simple. Although, you don't have to focus on that necessarily. See, there are side quests that actually have story endings that you can focus on instead. For example, the first time I ended up beating a run on normal difficulty, I ended up becoming an astrologist and finding a solution to the world's calamity in the stars. Because damn it, who needs a sword and shield when you've got a telescope? However, this does begin to highlight one of the main issues I had with the story of the game. Specifically, you. You as in the hero that you're playing as. Now, while you play the silent protagonist within this epic quest, it's the lack of focus on the hero that doesn't necessarily work for me here. When he's in discussion with the side characters or brought into the plot, he feels like a secondary character. Specifically, he feels like the bridesmaid, which is weird considering the whole savior of the world thing and his importance to the plot. I'm betting part of this has to do with the flexibility of choice with gender and classes for your runs. But even with that said, I felt like the hero could have been popped out of the story and really forgotten about in the long run, which is disappointing. So that makes the overall story portion of the game weak, right? Not at all. Because that's not what Mystery Chronicles One-Way Heroics story strength is. In fact, it's your allies. They are the ones that shine here. They get the character development as they tell a little of their story, bit by bit, while you're walking along your journey. They get the fun personalities. They get the layers of characters that you'd want out of a fantasy story. Now granted, you can completely ignore them if you really don't feel like listening to them. You'd be stupid for doing so because you'd be missing out on some really good basic writing here. These characters aren't cookie cutter. Whether it be a healer that seems to mirror the core personality traits of man's best friend, to a sexually suggestive swordswoman that may have more confidence problems than she lets on. Now, while the game doesn't spend a lot of time in these sections, the time is well spent and actually filled with good writing. Remember good writing? Character development, purposeful plot points, things that weave together and keep within a character's personality when you go back and look at their previous actions? Yeah, that type of writing. What a lot of games seem to forget in their focus on memes and overly done drama sections is the basis of consistent and interesting characters. Ones that you can relate to, ones that you care about. Spike Chunsoft has always had that ability to really connect a character at a basic level, meaning that if they do die, you actually give a damn. Hell, the Danganronpa series is enough to show that, but Mystery Chronicles One-Way Heroics did the same for my allies. In addition, there's some darkness here that I wasn't expecting. And that's stupid of me because there's always darkness when Chunsoft is involved. Hell, the Danganronpa series. These characters may be facing the end of their world as a whole, but some of them are facing even bigger issues by the end of their journey. These side characters will struggle at some point, and it won't be something involving puppy dogs and kittens. More like werewolves and bandits, and complex human emotions. And don't get me wrong, if you're looking for some comedy writing, the game still has it. Granted, I do wonder if some of these jokes landed better just because I was playing at 1 in the morning. But something about leveling up with petting an otter pelt and the repeated fluff word? Yeah, I'm still laughing at that. These jokes ranged from the groan-worthy, yet acceptable, to the downright gut-inducer. Again, it's not a focus, but it complements everything going on gameplay-wise. But you know what did surprise me? The sexual undertones of the story. No, seriously, there's actually a reasonable bit of sexual references in the game. And what's surprising is that it works while still keeping the game serious. I mean, we're not talking about fan service type artwork or anything, but hidden within elements of some of the characters' interactions, you get scenarios that, you know what, let me just show you an example.
Oh no! Hero, you're injured! Right, I just made a compress infused with medicinal herbs. It works well, so please use it.
Nice one, Dozy. Hand it over quick. Hero, we're going to treat you.
Ooh! Hero! In the bath! Right in front of me! But you've got a lot more wounds than I expected. Your whole body is covered in wounds. Is a hot compress going to be enough? I understand. There's simply no other way. I have no choice but to lick all up and down Hero's body to heal these wounds.
What the? Dozy, what are you talking about?
You may not be aware, but the saliva of residents of the snowfields has medicinal properties. It's a lot like the way the purring of a cat has therapeutic properties.
Is that true? I don't know about that.
So please excuse me while I lick you all over. It may tickle a bit, but please bear with it. Mm. 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 Mm.
Whoa, that is quite a scene.
The story isn't the star of Mystery Chronicles One-Way Heroics, and given its genre, I wouldn't expect it to be. But it did deliver for me, even with the lack of focus on the main story. It's the side characters that power it, and frankly, it deserves multiple playthroughs to see the end of their individual stories. While the technical side of Spike Chunsoft titles are usually minor given their usual genres, there's still elements to talk about here, especially with the focus on more active gameplay elements in the game. Look, it may not need to be a Ferrari for the gameplay it's going for, but you still want to know if the oil is leaking from every orifice. Let's start with the options menu. You've got bindable keys for both the keyboard and the controller for the most part, but it isn't every key that the game uses, so that sorta sucks. Typical audio sliders and the choice of English versus Japanese voice acting, and some basic gameplay options to help streamline the process. You've also got windowed and full screen options with resolutions available for the windowed mode. Also, you can configure your game to be able to post to Twitter, because you want to tell people about your level 177 archer. Duh. One minor note. Menus are controlled via a controller or the keyboard. There is no mouse-driven menu options here. Again, that sorta sucks in some cases. You may also notice a slight problem on the main title screen. A small problem, tiny, itsy bitsy, where the hell is the quit game option? Basically, you have to click out of the game, as its full screen is a full screen windowed mode, and close it manually. Annoying to say the least. Now this game runs at 30 FPS, and pretty much only at 30 FPS. I mean, it's a game that's not going to entirely take advantage of 60 FPS limits, so I'm more concerned with consistency, and there's nothing but consistency here. At least for me. Several early purchasers of the game have indicated problems on even high-end rigs, which is concerning. Several of them are complaining about the 30 FPS lock, indicating that it makes them sick. And while I do believe some people are blowing their experience out of proportion, there are ones who are indicating significant frame drops. I myself never ran across that on two different systems, one on a high caliber system and one middle of the road, but note it going forward. Now granted, the Fraps frame counter liked to freak out, switching rapidly between 30 and 31 FPS for some odd reason, but I never would have thought that if I didn't see the number myself. There's controller support on the PC, but for Xbox controllers, no proper button prompts are given for them, so it's a bit of memorization to take advantage of it. I'm assuming that's different for the PS controllers considering the game is available on those consoles, but I could not test that. In addition, for the Xbox controllers, not all the buttons seem to be bound on the controller, so that sorta sucks. Regardless, it is playable with a controller, but you'll need the keyboard once in a blue moon, or use a Steam controller or equivalent program to bind the E and R keys to a button. The game for the most part loads information just fine, but I will say that once in a blue moon, you see this loading symbol, and it takes 10 to 20 seconds for it to get resolved. It's rare, but it comes out of nowhere, and it is a bit annoying. I don't know if it's loading a part of the map or whatnot, but I hope it goes away or is reduced in future patches. Now note, I played the game via its Steam version. There are PlayStation 4 and Vita versions available, but I did not get my hands on either of them. From my understanding from what I've read, the Vita and PlayStation 4 versions load quickly and seem to have no issues, but if you're going to get those versions in particular, do some research before you do. You may think that this would be silly considering the game is cheaper on Steam, but I can see why someone would want to get it on the Vita in particular. As you'll see in the gameplay section, it has a good addictive and game to pick up whenever mentality to it. But overall technically, this is the prime example of a Spike Chunsoft port. Performance is great, but has a hiccup here and there, and some of the options that you'd want are missing. But it's definitely playable in every case. Alright, let's not beat around the bush anymore. What about the core of this game's experience? Its gameplay. The game is an action top-down roguelite, depending on your choices, but with a couple of twists thrown in there for good measure and gameplay variety. First, you'll need to set up your journey. You start by choosing a world, a hero, and a difficulty. Now these worlds are generated via generated codes, and you play any specific one at any time if you have its letter code to enter. These worlds can be rather basic, to being enhanced heavily or guaranteeing specific allies in specific places at the start of your journey. Difficulty-wise, you'll get an eventual range of easy to hard, once you beat the highest available level at any point. Here's a hint, you'll start with pretty much easy and go from there. You've got a couple of basic classes that you start off with, Knight, Archer, Sorcerer, but as you run through the game, you'll earn Genesis Stones based on your performance. This will allow you to unlock more specialized and strange classes, such as the Half-Beast and the... Wait, the Wanderer? He's in this game? Along with Asuka? Nice little touch there, Spike Chun. Wait, the Ultimate Student? Danganronpa is in this game? Mystery Chronicles One-Way Heroics is a fantastic game and scores 100 out of a... Oh, okay, I'm kidding, of course, but I really like the fact that Spike Chunsoft included these other characters as a little present to its fans. And no, it's not just because Danganronpa is one of the best games I've played in the last 5 years. And no, it's not because I can go around and punch things as Monokuma over and over again. Okay, maybe it is a little bit. I probably should actually talk about the gameplay at this point and what you actually do. So basically, this is your basic turn-based action RPG. You and your opponents move based on your agility stat, usually trading one turn at a time. You have your basic melee or ranged attacks that you can smack enemies with over and over again. But based on your class, you have a couple of skills that you can throw at enemies as well, spending the appropriate ST points. These skills range from a basic knockback ranged attack to unleashing Goku's Kamehameha wave. Now you may think, wait, one of those seems overpowered than the other, but don't worry. The game takes into account an ability's power and uses an appropriate time element associated with it. Some characters have brute strength, and one solid ability that they work off of, like the reliable knight with his ultimate shield. But then you have characters like the ultimate student, who has a variety of skills that can be modified in various ways, and you have to use them all to keep enemies off you at a reasonable pace. Like mentioned, some of these have ST points you spend to use their skills, although some of them can only be used a couple times within an in-game day or within an entire adventure. Now, as you fight enemies, you gain levels, because of course you do, there's RPG elements in the game. It randomly gives you a stat boost on each level. These stat boosts are significant over time, even if they only add a random stat or two each level. And when you get into later levels with heroes that need to fight, you'll need every single one of them. So with the basics of combat explained, how does the gameplay play? Strategically, especially over time, and yet it has this base level addictive quality to it. It's pretty much like crack cocaine, except with any of the bad side effects, or the illegalness, or the cost. Okay, it's not like crack cocaine at all, but I think you understand my point. It gives you a nice high, and it's addictive. What Mystery Chronicles One-Way Heroic does extremely well is provide a challenge that's suitable for the various difficulties. Each class has its own strength, whether it be defense and taking a beating, or using the allies you pick up and enhancing their attacks. Hell, you have heroes that don't want to fight and gain experience based on picking locks and working through the environment. But all those different classes and playstyles all have unique challenges to them, and challenges that will force you to make hard decisions, which is what you need for a truly great turn-based game like this. Sure, you'll run into enemies that are cannon fodder, giving you experience without a lot of risk, but that won't last long. Sooner or later, you'll run into a variety of enemy types that can really mess your hero up, like those who can throw fire bottles at you and deal tons of damage, or those that can literally push you into bad situations and closer to the light at the end of the screen, ending your run. You'll run into champion enemies that will take a huge chunk out of you, and you'll have to make a quick decision on whether to stay and fight or find a way to Usain Bolt out of there. The game follows the long haul, yet can die at any moment type of progression. You'll have to deal with survival elements like your energy percentage and your HP. Over time, your energy will go down and certain skills and strengths won't be available if you don't have enough of it. So you'll need to find items in the environment to help you out. You will have to engage certain hazards to get some of those items, even in the cases of more exploration type characters, and you will take damage during it. Over time, you will have to use resources to counteract those damages, and at a certain point, you will run low on those types of items. And then you have to sit there and wonder if you should use that last potion right now, or let your natural healing over time take control, and avoid enemies as long as you can. What Spike Chunsoft has done well here is making a set of basic gameplay elements that all work together well to create a rather deep experience and a replayable one. The sheer variety of items, heroes, situations that you're put into really puts decision making at the forefront, because it's always situational rather than repetitive. You can't just slice your way through every enemy at times. It could be the lack of weapons you have on hand this run, considering their durability at this very moment. It could be the fact that you're low on health at this point, and you just don't have the health to face them. Or it could just be a specific enemy type you know you'll have problems with the specific class you're playing as. Despite probably seeing the base elements of the situation before, it still feels new and important 20 hours in, just by the sheer number of combinations of elements that are involved. It's things like the awakening system that really highlight the strengths of the game. 5 times during a journey, I can use the awakening, which will basically give me 5 actions before an enemy gets another one. But with only 5 available, I have to save them for the right situations. In most cases, I want to use them when I've got multiple enemies on me, and can be killed in 1 to 2 turns. But where exactly do I draw the line? Can I survive this attack to leave it usable later on in the game? That's what I'm talking about, your management of the situation and how every mechanic in this game seems to work towards that. The weight system is another fine example. Items have weight to them, and I really felt the weight system for lighter characters. You couldn't hold 3 weapons at a time, hell even 2 weapons at a time, especially with the need to refill energy with supplementary items. It forces you to make decisions on what items to keep, and actual, real decisions. I'd love to have a bow even if I'm a knight character, just in case that one enemy that keeps knocking me back truly gives me problems. But with that said, if I want to keep some utility items on me for when I get hungry, I may not be able to. Your weight limit does increase as you level up, giving you more and more options as you progress through the game. But that never changes the fact that you'll have to leave weapons behind and wonder if they were truly going to bring the pain more than your current one was with the identification system in place. Yes, there's an ID system. Characters with higher intelligence can more easily identify a weapon, telling how strong it is, how durable it is, and its special stats. For lower intelligence characters, they'll have to rely on ID parchment scrolls, or just experiment with different weapons, and hope that the durability of it isn't low, or that it doesn't have hidden properties against certain enemies that can get them killed. It poses questions. Do I keep a known commodity around just because I know what it does, even if it seems like the identified sword that I just picked up does more base damage that I can see via attacking? I know I'm hitting on the decision making in this game and shoving it down your throat as a strength, but to me, that's what makes a great turn-based roguelike. And One Way Heroics shines so well in that area. You know what I also like? That the moral choices in the game actually have benefits on both sides of the aisle. For example, you will get points against you for hunting down innocent creatures, and you'll have rangers come after you when you do. And the creatures won't naturally attack you. However, they could also give you rather needed food or even items that can boost your stats permanently. It forces you to actually think about what you need to do and forces you to make hard decisions, actual hard decisions. And like I said before, there's a bunch of variety here. All the classes have their own strengths and lead to different playstyles because of it. Even within those specific classes, they have differences thanks to a perk system. You can go in as a pugilistic Monokuma, punching the shit out of things over and over again. That's despite the base level stats of the ultimate student wanting to be more of a ranged character. Then you can change up to a thief that wants to stay in the shadows and uses abilities to run rather than to fight. You can pick up allies and focus on trying to enhance their attacks and keeping all of you protected, or you can focus on just running as far right as possible at top speed. The choice is yours. Okay, I've said a lot of good things about this gameplay. Is there bad sides to the gameplay? Of course there is, but to be honest with you, a lot of them connect directly to the genre itself, aka being a roguelike. There is a portion of luck that plays into this gameplay, in particular with the exploration portion. You can't go back to areas due to always going right, and if you just get into a bad rut of missing items and enemies, you could end up screwing yourself rather quickly. There will be runs that end based on bad luck, and that's something that the roguelike genre is known for. It's definitely present here, but it's taken a step further at times. For example, one of the downsides of the classes and item system here is that the game can really screw you over luck-wise. Each class has a specialty with certain weaponry. Archers of course use bows, the Wanderer likes spears, so on and so forth. With the game's durability system for weaponry, that means eventually your weapon will break, and now you've got a slight problem. Because in certain runs, you won't have a suitable weapon for your style, even if you search up and down the entire map. Sure, you can find a weapon to be a stopgap in some cases, but sometimes you'll just end up cursing over and over again as your swordsman can find nothing but guns and really can't adapt well otherwise. In addition, there's a lot of little things that bother me in the game, like the ability to throw arrows. You can throw pretty much anything in the game, but the ability to throw arrows seems overpowered to me, mostly due to the lack of weight of arrows. They do work based off of force stat, but with all the other mechanics having a positive and negative aspect, being able to chuck an arrow like a ninja star didn't have any negative effects at range for melee fighters, and felt rather cheap to be honest with you. It's small tiny things like this that doesn't necessarily break the balance of the game, but just felt off in the overall picture. But it never overshadowed the strategy element of this gameplay, and that's where Mystery Chronicles One-Way Heroics absolutely shined. I'm telling you this before the conclusion of this video. This game is worth picking up if you even like anything related to roguelike mechanics, as it's got that addictive quality that will want me to play over and over and over again. Hell, I may find a way to make a series on the channel based on it, like my Overwatch Fridays. That's how much I like this base gameplay. Let's finally briefly hit on the presentation. Those of the 16-bit era should be familiar with the style here. It actually reminds me of Final Fantasy V in several ways, and no, I have no idea why specifically Final Fantasy V. This doesn't even look like Final Fantasy V. And yet, that's what I keep coming back to when trying to make a comparison. Maybe it's the up-close sprite work, maybe it's in the blue box presentation, maybe I'm just frickin' nuts. I don't know, but that's the comparison I'm making, damn it. Everything is clear to see, and characters even at the sprite level have a good amount of detail behind them. Attack animations are really non-existent for the most part, but they still have a good force behind them, thanks to good sound work, in terms of weapon impact. The environments hit a reasonable range of tundras, deserts, forests, and the entire art presentation works to complement the base gameplay here. And the voice acting is competent, but it's also hilarious. I mean, some of the voices are really goddamn hilarious. Again, with this kind of game that One-Way Heroics is, I didn't expect much as the focus is on the gameplay. But it's that kind of B-level movie acting, and I ate up every moment of it. Take a listen.
So I fled the group and went straight, and now I'm a mercenary. Well, did the heavy talk kill the mood?
Nah, that's not a mood killer. It's even fitting given the destiny hero has embraced. But now I understand the reason for your beautiful sword work.
Yeah, my assassin's sword that can cut any opponent. That's why I swing both ways.
Okay, that's enough. Way to destroy a meaningful talk with a dirty joke.
As to the music, it's there. I mean, it's mostly appropriate and fits the adventuring type of themes, but honestly, it just doesn't have any oomph to it. It almost reminds me of RPG Maker type generic music for the most part. It's not bad, it's just, well, listen. If you haven't figured it out by now, not only am I recommending to pick up Mystery Chronicles One-Way Heroics, I'm almost ready to demand you pick it up. Okay, I never do such a thing, but it's another Spike Chunsoft game that I'm ready to go to bat for and become a PR rep for pretty much no cost. Because it's that good of a game. It's addictive, it's fun, and overall, it's just a good time. We need more games like this. You'll get hours upon hours of content out of it. It's a strategy and roguelike player's dream in my opinion, and it's complemented by an under-the-radar story and good, but not great, presentation. But specifically at the prices the game is available at, to me, it's a huge steal. But as always, I recommend getting a second opinion. Go check out OpenCritic and some of the reviews over there. I'm part of their contributors program, but you can customize which reviewers you follow and which ones that you don't really want to follow anymore. The fact is, it's a much better Metacritic. Anyway, coming up on the channel, I'm going to take a step back and focus on some games that I have missed over the last few weeks, and in particular, Stranger of Sword City. Yes, I'm going to focus on that this week, along with Deus Ex Mankind Divided. Maybe I'll get to Tales of a Spaceport Janitor, and probably that Patreon video in the next 2 weeks, but no new titles for the most part. Anyway, I'll see you later, and as always, keep on gaming. Thanks for watching. Like the video, share it with a friend, and subscribe if you want more content like this. In the description below, you'll find the Steam review accompanying this vid, along with social media that you can follow me on, Twitter, Google+, and Facebook groups. And if you want to support the channel, click that Patreon on the left of the screen. And remember, keep on gaming.